Hello, my name is Charles Harding. Some might say I came by my inclination towards all things technical. Naturally, my father's an engineer, my grandfather was an engineer, and his father headed the Purdue School of Electrical Engineering. So from a young age I took apart everything I could. However, there's a problem with that because there seems to be a significant lag before you're able to put these things back together. But once I got there, and I was able to put things back together, I turned out to be pretty valuable to my family, so all was forgiven. When I was in high school, the buzz on the street was that we would all be using computers in the future. And of course this turned out to be true. But what these visionaries might have missed was that truly affordable personal computers were just around the horizon. I and many others were unwilling to wait, so we started ordering kits for computers and soldering them together. And soon I built my first keyboard. We were very excited as these systems started to come together and as we saw our small systems come to life. But it was even unknown to us that we were sitting on the forefront of a true technological revolution that would later be likened to movable type in the printing press. I've spent most of my adult life working in technology and working with engineers, and as I said, my family are engineers, and I now teach network engineering for Barton Community College. And the impetus for this paper started during personal contemplation and through discussions with my students when we were discussing how far back this important role might go. And to go as far back as was possible, I decided that the first place to look would be in mythology, because mythologies record the oral traditions from the beginning of time. And in many of these oral traditions we find threads that go throughout all the cultures. And one of these examples would be fire origin stories. Almost all cultures have some sort of fire origin story. And you know, it could be the Native Americans from North America who have stories of Grandmother Spider who carried fire on her back in a bowl and brought it to the people, to the familiar Greek tragedy of Prometheus. But almost every culture has some sort of fire story, and I think this is significant to how important this culture, to the cultures, this new technology was. Of these myths, the hymns of the Rig Veda fascinated me, because in there we hear of Matra Ishava, who not only brought fire to the people, but it specifically mentions the technology of the creation of fire by friction. Here we have a story that not only says fire, but it shows the knowledge of how to create the fire being disseminated in a way that we can understand today, because we understand what it means to make fire by friction. The next myths that I wanted to look at had to do with metallurgy. And in search for myths about metallurgy, because obviously metallurgy represented a high advanced technology at the time, I found the stories that are in the book attributed to the antediluvian prophet Enoch. In there we learn about Ansel. In the story of Ansel, he taught the people not only metallurgy, but the chemistry of the coloring of dyes. And unfortunately, this story is a tragedy too. But it's specific. It talks about metallurgy and it also talks about dyeing, which is understandably advanced technology too at the time. I wanted to move beyond myth. So the next place I looked for evidence of this ancient dissemination of technology was within the study of Ötzi, the Iceman of the Neolithic Age. Here we find fascinating evidence for an actual traveling metallurgist. Because unique to Ötzi's finds was not only all of his daily implements of life. And one of these was a fantastic copper axe. This copper axe represented perhaps the highest technology on the planet at the time, and he was carrying it with him. And this discovery of Ötzi and his axe and all of his other implements was so fantastic that in the case of copper smelting and that technology, and knowing when it actually arrived into that part of Europe, the dates had to even be pushed back, because here was actual proof of somebody with the axe, and they could radiocarbon date it. Another interesting discovery with Ötzi was that in his hair, they discovered trace metals that could have only gotten into his hair by prolonged, direct exposure to the copper smelting process. So here was the missing proof. Ötzi was most likely the actual metallurgist who created the axe. He knew that technology. And one of the reasons we know about Ötzi is because he was traveling at the time he died. So here we have an actual traveling metallurgist. The next thing I wanted to look at that we have good science for was the Antikythera mechanism. The Antikythera mechanism is dated to around 2,000 years ago, which puts it over a millennia out of date of any other geared instrument of this complexity. So obviously, it is an example of an extremely advanced technology. And the reason we know about the Antikythera mechanism is because it was being transported in a treasure ship amongst great works of art, most likely as prize of war or tribute. It was so valuable to the people because of this high level of technology. And not only is this high level technology represented by the instrument itself, it even had documentation of a sort that came with it. So here we have advanced technology created by unknown engineers being disseminated to somewhere else in the world. After reviewing this research, I was very reassured. It turns out that technologists, engineers, disseminators of technology have been around since the beginning of time. And either as the result of design or evolutionary necessity, humans are blessed and cursed, I believe, with pattern-seeking brains. And a select group of people have had the ability to not only connect the dots, but to anticipate the next dot. And they have been with us for as long as we have been human, because the spirit of innovation is a hallmark of our species.